Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the stories, experience, and challenges that shape who we have become. Our today's guest is Yogi Mueller, a leadership coach, our speaker, and author who help people grow through honest feedback, real mentorship, and the kind of hard truths that actually drive transformation. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show, Yogi.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you. So, Yogi, what were some of the experience or challenges that shape you into who you have become today?
So, you mentioned I'm an author. I released a book last year on mentorship, and I honestly am very grateful for everybody that has played a role in my life in developing me both personally and professionally. And I wasn't always in that headspace. I didn't really understand what that all meant in until one day. I don't know if it was a light bulb went on or something, but I'm like, man, a lot of people invested in me. A lot of people trusted that, the time they spent with me was going to pay off. And so I'm very grateful for those mentors, those coaches, those people that stepped in and believed I could be better than I was and was willing to invest in that because they knew it would pay off.
Amazing. Wow. So you actually talk about the great slapping. What does that really mean? And who gave you that moment that changed how you lead and grow?
I have to share with you, it is not a physical slapping. I do not believe in the physical violence part. The great slapping, RO, refers to those pieces of feedback that you've gotten in your life,
Hmm.
where whether from a personal friend or a professional or a boss or a mentor, where they see you screwing around, they see you doing something stupid. They maybe try to tell you you're doing something stupid, but they don't listen. You don't listen to them. So eventually, they hit you pretty hard with the feedback. And that's what
Hmm.
they give you that great slapping where they
Slapping.
say, stop what you're doing because it's no good. You need to fix this and you need to fix this now. And just like when you do get slapped physically, it hurts. There's a sting because the feedback gets at your ego. It gets at your belief that you're
Yeah.
beyond, fault. And then there's that moment of clarity where you get your sense slapped
Yeah.
back in you, and you realize maybe there's some truth to
Hmm.
what this person's trying to tell me. And so that's why I call it the great slapping.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So you actually experienced a major career shift through downsizing. How did that moment force you to reevaluate yourself and your path?
Well, that was I tell you, I was with the company for 13 years. I was vice president of talent
Hmm.
development when we got bought out. It's an experience that shakes you to your core a little bit, right? You think you're comfortable in your career, you think you're comfortable in your abilities, and you're doing well, and the cosmos is smiling on you, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're not. And that period of time was a lot of learning for me. I had to relearn things. I had to relearn how to get back in the job market. I had to learn how to be an entrepreneur. I had to learn how to be an author because these are things that I wanted to do to prove that it's not just about the title that I had. I have value. And so there was, and I know a lot of people going through this right now, especially in the United States, where there's a lot of layoffs going on, and people that have never had to apply for a job in 30 years, all of a sudden find themselves without a job. And so it's one of those things. If you allow it to take over and you allow it to beat you on the head a little bit, not a great slapping, not a good one. It can do damage to your confidence. It could be damage to your morale. It could be damage to your health, your physical and your mental health. And so how it changed me, how it centered me. One, it refocused my desire to be grateful, and it refocused my desire to believe and be confident in the value that I bring,
Hmm.
and that the value that I bring is not necessarily only defined by those around me and those that are paying me and those that put the title on my door. You know, I have a great deal of value, and I'm very confident that I could do anything I set myself out to be.
Wow. Wow, amazing, amazing. I think it's really lovely being that after going through it. I'm glad that you be grateful. You actually you believe and confident in the value that you bring. And I think that was what actually more like help you out to thrive even after that particular downsizing. And yeah, it's It's really amazing. So many people actually seek mentorship, but still struggle to grow. What does real mentorship actually look like beyond encouragement?
So, first of all, you got to want it, right? Because a mentor is going to tell you not what you want to hear, but what
Yeah.
you need to hear. And so you need to have that voluntary willingness to get into the relationship. I say mentorship requires two things. It requires voluntary participation on both the mentee and the mentor. The mentor has to be willing to give you the tough information. And then there has to be trust. And if you don't have any of those two things, it is not a mentor relationship. It will fall apart. And so what makes that successful is that ability for that mentor to share the tough feedback with you, and you as the mentee to trust
Mm.
where that feedback is coming from the mentor and absorb it and to do something with it. I say listening to feedback is only 50% of the equation. The other 50% is actually doing something about it.
Yeah. Feedback is 50%, and it now depends on you to take action towards improving
That's right.
on what is being
Yeah.
considered. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So you emphasize feedback is a whole lot. Why do so many leaders struggles with receiving honest feedback, even when they know they need it the most?
Ego
Mm,
and fear. Ego. When some people, not all of them, but when some people get to a certain part in their career, they think, well, I've made it to VP, I've made it to SVP, I've made it to CEO.
yeah,
I don't need feedback. I'm the smartest person in the room. Even Socrates said the
yeah,
wise man is the one that knows he knows nothing.
yeah. He
And
knows he
that was
knows
back in
nothing.
ancient Greece, right?
Yeah,
And so the reason, so that ego's there, and I think it stays because of fear, because people are afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to show that they have kinks in their armor, afraid to say that they have opportunities. Like, well, how did he or she get to the CEO position when they have these faults?
mm,
And you almost put on this false sense of perfection. And I think that's why there's a lot of apprehension to that. And you look at people like Elon Musk and you look at people like Jeff Bezos, right? It's the big money people in the world today. Are they open to feedback? I don't know. I don't play golf with them on Thursdays or have
yeah,
a whiskey with them in the afternoon. But I did hear something from Jeff Bezos the other day. He was being interviewed, and somebody asked him, well, why don't you explain the whys to people? And he says, I don't have time to explain the whys. And so when you have people like that, sometimes success is enough, right? That they're making money despite their fear and their ego. And so they think they're doing okay. But there's others that think that that's not enough just to be successful. I also want to be a wise person. I want to be a good person. I want to be somebody that understands I have opportunities. And so those are the people that we look for. If you came to me, if you were running a company, RO, and you said, hey, I have this chief operating officer I want you to talk to because they're struggling. The first question I would ask you is, well, how self-aware are they?
mm,
How comfortable are they talking about their opportunities? And if they're not, you don't start at the same place, same pace, same spot as you would do somebody that is self-aware. You need to work through that part first before you get to the actual feedback.
amazing. Being self-aware, so that even if feedback is being given, you'll be able to pinpoint at what points where is this feedback actually needed. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So tell us about the GRIT index, GRIT index. How does it help leaders see the gap between who they think they are and who they actually are?
Well, thank you for asking. The Grid Index, GRIT, is an acronym, and it's something I created to help people like that COO that may not be self-aware.
Mm,
GRIT stands for Get Over Yourself and
mm,
Reassess with Honesty. It has to do with how you receive feedback and what you do with it. The first two, Get Over Yourself and Receive or Reassess with Honesty, is all about how you receive feedback. Where does your ego get in the way? What are the walls that you put up? Are you unable to see the truth in all feedback because you're pissed off that somebody said that you did something wrong?
yeah.
Well, you have to get through your ego first. Then the next two, invest in improvement and treasure your lessons and growth, are what you do with the feedback once you get it. So if you understood I could be a better podcast host, okay, great. But then what are you going to do about it? If you're just sitting on that information, you're not fully embracing the feedback that was. And by the way, you're a great podcast host, by the way.
Oh,
I'm just using
thank
you as
you.
an example. But that you need to look at all four of those categories together. The first two about how you receive it, and the second two are what you do with it. And then we can take those results, and really dig into, because I could give you feedback and it's like throwing darts at a board that's not going to stick. And it's a waste of your
Mm.
time and it's a waste of mine.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, get over yourself, reassess with honesty, invest in improvement. Yeah, treasure it. It's really amazing just when you make reference of it. The first two is about receiving, and the other part is what do you do with it? Because it's more like feeling a drum, and if at the end of the day you didn't make any use of it, it just means it's a wasted feedback.
Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And our times are too valuable to waste time. And if you
Yeah.
don't think that that there's another room you can go into, or you're not comfortable, if you're not comfortable not being the smartest person in the room, let's find somebody that's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, thank you. Also, in your experience, what is the difference between leading with authority and leading with real impact?
Gotcha. Thank you for that. That's what happens when we're translating thousands and thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of miles. Things get lost. See, if you ever watched the movie Ben-Hur about the Roman, it was Charlton Heston. It's an old movie. He was part of the Roman Empire, and he was rowing a boat because he was a prisoner. And there was a bunch of people on the guys in these boat, and they're all like tired, and they're rowing this boat for the ruler of the Roman Empire. And I always asked, how fast does Charlton Heston row the boat? And the answer is he rows it fast enough to not get whipped,
Mm.
which is really not that fast. So if you're a leader that leads by authority, that leads by punishment, that leads by fear, that leads by your title, that leads by causing situations where people fear for their jobs, and you get them to do what you want them to do, but they're only
Yeah.
going to do it fast enough and hard enough is to not get whipped. And when you lead with real impact, when you lead with an understanding of what drives everybody individually, when you lead with respecting and valuing and appreciating everybody underneath or within your purview as leader, that's when you're going to get real impact. That's when you're going to get people that do things willingly because they want to. The authority leaders will light a fire underneath you so you jump out of the fire.
Yeah.
But a leader with real impact will light a fire within you.
Wooch. This
Like that, guys.
this analogy really speaks volumes, being that uh burning the world simply means when you burn yourself, others will look at you and say, "Ouch, I want to get burned just way." Compared to when you are setting others on fire, and still you don't go the way you wanted to go the way, which authority speak volume. Wow, amazing! This analogy is really amazing. Wow, wow, it's really. So you have a background in comedy, and how has that influenced the way you connect with people and deliver tough message?
So yeah, I did spend some time as a professional comedian, and the only reason I'm in human resources when I first made that leap is
Yeah.
they were asking me to teach a class, and I'm standing in front of an audience of 40 people. I'm like, oh, I have a captive audience for 40 minutes or an hour, and I was like, I get to perform, right? And so then I realized, oh my God, I can actually have some real impact on people. I can help,
Yeah.
people be better leaders and things. So how has that impacted me? I try to stay funny. I try to use humor a lot in my classes, whether I'm teaching at the university or I'm teaching at a
Yeah.
business or an organization. And I also believe in making fun of myself. I think the more individuals make fun of themselves, the less ego
Yeah.
that you necessarily bring to the table, right?
That's true.
So
Yeah.
that's how it's influenced my interactions today.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So can you share more like a moment where you fail as a leader and what that experience taught you?
So a good experience that has really solidified my love of leadership is when I've helped somebody get to the next level.
Mm.
Where I had, let's say, I have an associate that worked for me, and 3 years later, they're a director,
Mm.
and I am not solely responsible for that because that's all the majority that's on the individual. However, I helped create the surroundings. I helped create the situation. I helped maybe kick them in the butt a little bit, gave them a great slapping, maybe once or twice. Knowing that you had a little part in that, I don't know, Aro, I don't know about you, but if you've got folks that you've worked with, that you've seen them be successful, and whether they were a neighbor, whether they were somebody you knew at work, and you had just a small contribution. maybe even indirectly.
Yeah.
But to see them succeed, you feel pride. You feel like, hey, and you didn't do it, you didn't invest in that person, you didn't help that person because you expected payoff, you expected money back, you
Mm.
expected a position. You did it because you believed in that other person. You believed that they had potential. And so you did what you did. And it could have been just little small things, but they got there.
Yeah.
And sometimes that person, after they're successful, will come back to you and say, I know you think that was just a small thing, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people that say, literally, you changed or saved my life. That one interaction you had with me
Mm.
made me do changes in my life that literally saved my life. And you probably didn't know that. I'm like, no, I didn't. But I did
Yeah.
because I believed in you.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, how do you balance challenging people to grow without pushing them too far or losing them in the process?
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we have trust,
Mhm.
right? That that where I'm coming from is a place of genuine interest in
Yeah.
helping you get better. That I will never tear you down. What I'm trying to do is build you up. And sometimes that means I got to take you out at the knees a little
Mm.
bit. I got to take you down. I use the phrase all the time, sandpaper learning, because when you're
Mm.
building a piece of furniture, before you put that final coat on, you rough it up with sandpaper.
Yeah.
And sometimes people require that roughing up, some hard truth feedback, tough love, whatever you want to call it, but to help you get there. And look, if we beat around the bush, if I'm scared to tell you that you have some challenges, I'm not a good mentor, I'm not a good
Yeah.
coach. But on the flip side, if I'm so insulated that I don't listen to people's feedback about what I do, then I'm not worth my grain of salt, right? So I want to establish that trust. I want you to know that I genuinely believe in you, and that I'm investing in you, and understand everything that's coming from me has that sole purpose.
Yeah, amazing. I think this is really reassuring, being that in an environment where the followers knows that you trust them, you have their best interest, and you love them, it's easier to actually more like do everything that needs to be done to push them. And still, even if you feel hard, they will understand from the depth of their heart that it's because this person trusts me, this person loves me,
Yeah,
and
but
it's
that's
really
not easy
amazing.
to do. That's not easy to do these days.
Yeah,
People, you tell them, hey, that shirt doesn't look good on you, and they think it's a personal attack. They
mm,
want to beat you up because you told them the shirt didn't look good with the shoes, and you're like,
yeah,
I just don't want you to go out of the house looking like that. But you attacked me personally. You disrespected me. You have to get by that, and that goes to that fear, that goes to that ego, and that goes to that feeling that you are at a level where you can improve, and nothing anybody can say is going to
yeah,
help you improve because you've already achieved excellence. So anything that you're saying to me must be an insult, and that's a shame. That's sad.
yeah. Yeah, it really is amazing, amazing. I think especially with social media coming into being, a whole lot of persons find it difficult for people to actually correct them, being that yeah, they just expect that they have a whole lot of person that they are following on various platforms, and you can't just say anything to them. And not knowing
Yeah,
that,
it's all about image. It's all about image. Yeah, good
yeah,
point. Good point.
yeah. Thank you. So, lastly, if there is one slap or truth you want our listeners to walk away with, what will it be?
Find a mentor.
Hmm.
Find that person, Naro. Find that person that you trust. Find that person that believes in you. Find that person that is not satisfied with where you are today because they know the person you could be tomorrow. And listen to them. Because as you intimated with social media, we don't make good connections anymore. They're rare.
Yeah,
But there are people out there. There are people that benefited from mentors. There are people that learn from them and are willing to give back. You just got to get over yourself and be brave enough to seek that feedback and to seek that support and that help that a mentor can truly give you. There's my slap.
get a mentor. Which it's really amazing like that. Thank you for the whole lot of insight. It has really been amazing. Also, tell us about your book. What is the particular key point you want my audience to live with? Getting the book and reading it.
The book can be found internationally on Amazon.com, and it's a thank you. It's gratitude to my mentors and my mentees,
Hmm.
but it's also a call to action. It's also saying, hey, because we're very sensitive these days, and we don't seek out feedback, and people seek perfection in their images on social media. And so we're not open to feedback. And if we're not, and we continue to not be able to communicate each other, we might be losing the art of mentorship. So
Yeah.
it's also a call to action on that as well.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it has really been amazing. So, for my audience who would love to reach out to you or connect with you, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
You can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can also go to craftleadership.net. Craftleadership.net.
Yeah, craftleadership.net. Definitely, the link is going to be on the show notes for my audience to easily reach out. Yeah. Thank you so much, Yogi. This has really been more like an amazing moment. You just remind us that growth doesn't come from comforts. It comes from honesty, feedback, and the courage to face who we really are. And to our listener, listening to the Making of Me podcast, where we conversation challenge us to grow, reflect, and become better leaders in our whole life. I would love you to check out the show notes and connect with Yogi. Once again, a pleasure and honor have you on the show.
An absolute honor and a pleasure, sir. Thank you for the time.